Guys, 100 pounds ago, I decided to run across the freeway. And the whole reason I did that is because I was getting chased by a dog. The path to higher purpose is the collection of life experiences that led us to where we are today. I've been traveling on this road for a long time, all in hopes of finding my true purpose. I've experienced a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and I'm willing to share them, hopefully adding value to your journey. So together, let's walk this path and find our higher purpose. So this one is going to bring it back all the way to the 90s. In the 90s, I feel like you had three choices in life if you wanted to be kind of cool or you wanted to have any chance of having a girlfriend. I feel like you either had to be in a gang, you had to do graffiti, or you needed to be some kind of dancer. Unfortunately, the 90s was a tough time, especially growing up. I mean, gangs were very popular. I knew for myself, I didn't have the muscle or the fighting power to be in the gang. So what's the next best thing, I chose to do graffiti. I've always been a fan of art. I've always appreciated it. It just made the most sense. So in school, I would learn how to do graffiti, write my name on the papers, things like that. Eventually, as things progressed, I just continued to do it. I wasn't really going out there, making a name for myself, not anything like that. I guess you can kind of say I was like a make-believe tagger at that point. That was all until one day. So I don't want to use real names or anything like that because again, this isn't their story or they might have a whole different outlook on how this all happened. This was just my story. Let's call them Friend A and Friend B. Friend A just got his driver's license and he didn't have a curfew, so we were able to go out at night. And Friend B was just someone that was always with me. There was one night, there was a party and it was one of our friends and we went to it. It was around maybe 11:30 or so. I had some paint and we thought it was a good idea and Friend A decided to drive us and we decided to go write our names all across the city. So we decided to go into this one neighborhood where you could enter the neighborhood and then it has access to the freeway. If you were able to write on the freeway, it was just such a big deal. You were just way more down for the scene. You were a little more tough, a little more street credibility. And we just thought, we don't have to get on the freeway. We could just do it from the neighborhood down below. We pull up to this neighborhood, park. We walk up underneath this bridge. I start writing on one side. Friend B starts writing on another. Friend A is around the corner. Friend B decided to go up onto the top of the freeway. When we went up to the top, we decided to go all over. There weren't that many cars at night, so we ran across to the middle, did the whole middle, ran back. As we hopped the fence and we got down to the top, all of a sudden we see a car drive by. And when that happens, the headlights turn on, you lay down on the floor, pretend that you're invisible. When we get up, we see these giant numbers on the top of the car. And if you guys know, there's only one kind of car with numbers on the top. You were right. It was the local law enforcement. Someone called them and said that they saw some kids doing graffiti, things like that. At this point in time, we weren't really scared yet. We thought we kind of got away with it because the officer just kept on driving. I don't think we were too smart at the time. I think we continued to do some more. And then you hear sirens up on the top of the freeway. And then you see more police down on the bottom. At this point, we knew we were pretty screwed. We all separated. Friend A, the one that drove, he came with me. Friend B skedaddled, and I didn't know where he was at this point. Friend A decided to come with me. We ran up to the top of the freeway, hopped this little fence, got on to where the freeway was.
Time out for some very important safety information.
Never run across the freeway. The freeway is so wide. When you're driving on the freeway, you have no idea, you don't really realize how wide it is. To get from the northbound to the southbound, one side to the other, it is so far. And to jump over that middle divider, you need to be like a hurdler. It was just unbelievable. For a man like me, short legs, small inseam, it was just a tough time.
Now, back to our story.
We just ran as far south as we could, headed towards Mexico. I mean, we were just running and running like crazy. Like, I've never ran as fast as that in my life. You could hear the sound of police, you could hear sirens, and you could see the sirens, the red and the blue, and lights flashing, like bright lights, and then you could hear dogs. I could just hear me and my friend running, and my friend said, I can't do it, I give up. And then, like, I don't know what to do, I give up. And then he just dropped to the ground. And then I was like, get up. And then he said, I can't. And then he surrendered. And I was like, oh my God, one of us has gone down. What do we do? So I continued to run. And I actually ran across the freeway again. I got to the middle and I ran to the other side. As I ran to the other side, there was another officer there waiting. I didn't know what to do. I felt like a football player, like juking left and right. Decided to hop the fence. As I hopped the fence, the officer grabbed my foot. I was trying to get over the fence, and then he kind of pushed me. As he pushed me, I flipped over, landed on my back, and he was saying, freeze or I'll let the dogs loose. And then I just heard canines, and at that point, I was toast. So they take me down to the car. My friend's already there. I look at him. He has sweat all over his face. He looked scared because I could only imagine what his parents are going to do to him. I'm scared. At this point, I'm pretty much done. We didn't talk to each other. I see an old man come to the car and said, the third one's over there. He's over here. And friend B decided to be like Spider-Man, hiding underneath the truck. Like holding on to the under part, and then the police went under with a light, got him. That was the end of our criminal activity. Well, the scariest part was we were still in the car. The police were taking pictures of everything, just all the damage all around, and at that point we knew, like, we're just done for. And like I said, I wasn't built for the gang life. I wasn't built for fighting and whatever. And now I'm thinking, I'm gonna go to juvenile hall. Like, I'm not built for this. My body's not capable of fighting off these gangsters and things like that. Anyways, we end up going to the police station. The police officer says, we're the stupidest people in the world. Why would we run across the freeway? He wished that we got hit on the freeway, because then it would be the highway patrol's problem and not his to do all the paperwork. And he was really pissed off because I guess as he reached for me and grabbed onto my foot, I kicked him and I ripped his shirt. He was pretty pissed off. And if you're listening to this now, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I was just a dumb kid. So when that happened, all of our parents came, and we were like mounted to a bench. There's this bench, like a long bench, maybe like 10 feet long, and it has this little pole connected to the back, and then you have handcuffs and they connect you to the pole. And we're just sitting there, and neither of my friends looked at me. We just all kind of looked down. We all knew we were just in the most trouble we've ever been in our life. When my friend got picked up, his parents looked at me like unbelievable, just the amount of disappointment. Then my other friends' parents came. Again, the look of disappointment, not only to them, but to me as a friend. I mean, I knew his parents, and I'm sure they thought I was a good kid. I mean, I was a good kid. I was just troubled, And then I remember when my dad picked me up, and I totally remember his face. I've never seen the amount of disappointment in my life. And he just said, get in the car. There were like no words. I don't know if any of you guys have ever gotten in trouble to that extent or anything to do with the police, but I guess as a parent now, the last thing I would want is to get a phone call from the police in the middle of the night. I guess, one, you're a little bit appreciative that it's not a call because something happened and they passed away. But then at that point, you immediately flip when you find out they're alive, because now you're pissed off. I guess I tell you this story because so much of it really tells you how I ended up doing what I do. You know, I've always been a fan of art. I've always been a fan of graffiti and those type of elements. And, you know, when I was introduced to computers and Photoshop and Illustrator, it was a way to convert those ideas and images and thoughts into something that was legal, positive, and unbelievably, you could actually make money doing it. The other important part to take from the story is just that the 90s were tough. I mean, for anyone out there that lived through it, I'm pretty sure you unfortunately have friends that passed away. You unfortunately saw things that you wished you never saw. You saw people get beat up. Maybe you got beat up. It was a really tough time, especially, you know, I'm sure LA was worse, but San Diego was really bad at that point. You know, I had friends that passed away senselessly. I've seen things that I wish I never saw, and all of that just kind of makes up into your DNA of what you're all about. So if there's anyone listening, again, I'm not telling anyone to go run across the freeway. Please don't. You know, I know we've all done some stupid things, but it really does make up who we are. And I guess you just have to accept the stupidity, make it a lesson learned, and just move on. So that's just one of the stories of how I got here and how I ended up doing this. It all comes into play when you look back. I appreciate you listening. Until next time.